Who should the driverless car crash into? The scenario is very simple, and we'll let you weigh in as to who do you think the driverless car should crash into, because we have to pre-program it that way, and liability and insurance and all that is going to be dependent on these decisions. So we're going at a very high speed. We're probably going to be driving 180 miles an hour with 2 inches apart, because these things will be possible. On the right side, there's going to be very protected cars, or the future equivalent of an SUV today, like a big SUV that your mother would feel safe in with her 2 babies. So the mother in the safe SUV with the 2 babies. And I say the equivalent because who knows, this is a scenario 15 years from now, who knows what cars will look like, but let's suppose. On the left side would be the equivalent today of a very cheap entry-level car, compact, that basically you're a few years old, not even new, what you would give a teenager as a graduating present, their first car, or what a responsible teenager would buy with their own money. So that car. And it's filled with 5 teenagers, they're not wearing their seatbelts, and they're listening to music and they're partying, and so that's what's going on in the future. Teenager responsibility will continue, so don't worry. That part of the scenario will happen. And then in front, there's a big truck behind me, an 18-wheeler, and there's an 18-wheeler in front of me. So I'm kind of boxed in. I mean, all of the cars are boxed in because it's a 6-lane freeway, and we're going from LA to Las Vegas. And on this super speed interstate, all of a sudden the truck in front of me, the door opens and boxes come flying out. So the car has to do a maneuver and has to calculate, because they're programmed to preserve life and to reduce the amount of deaths. So the car is going to do calculations to see what it does. If it hits the brakes, it takes on the impact, and what's the probability of the people in that car, you're traveling with your family, that they get hurt. Then if it turns right and hits the SUV, what's the probability that the mother with either one of the babies will die? It's doing thousands of calculations like right then and there. It's calculating the strength of the SUV material and the compression factors and the fact that it has the 5-star security rating and the airbags. The babies are in a protective chair cocoon, and on the left side, obviously the fact that these teenagers don't have a seatbelt on doesn't help the calculations, but nonetheless the system is calculating real time the probability of the teenagers dying. The exercise here, there's obviously no right or wrong, but the exercise here is, what should the driverless car do? Because if you hit the brakes and then you take the hit, then you take the risk, and then obviously the babies are a big deal, and the teenagers, a lot of my students said, oh, they should be taking the hit for their irresponsibility. They shouldn't be protected because they were irresponsible. But of course, the probability of dying is much higher than your family or the family next door. But the problem is that if these cars start always taking on the hit themselves and putting your family at risk, then nobody's going to buy that brand. They're going to buy the brand whose algorithms are different. So think about it. I'm going to pause right now, and I'm going to give you a chance to answer. We're going to put the question and see what you think, and then start the video on the other side, and we'll discuss the solution.